Well, good Friday afternoon and welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Maddie Gardner, joined with Eric Chilton and Tahesha Moise this afternoon. All right, we are going to begin this afternoon with our top story, and it begins in Guilford County, where schools will stick with remote learning for at least another week. The Board of Education says the COVID-19 numbers in the county are not at a level to bring students back to classrooms. The school board plans to talk about reopening and the current health metrics again at their November 10th meeting. Superintendent Dr. Sharon Contreras says she will ask the school board to make a long-term decision about reentry before winter break. And happening right now, people are gathering in downtown Greensboro for what they're calling a March for Change. Let's get out to WFMY News 2's Marissa Tansino. Marissa, what can you tell us about what's going on?
Well, Maddie, we're standing here in Governmental Plaza in Greensboro, where some people are starting to gather. I'll step out of the way so you can see. The group has moved a little bit further back towards that blue sign back there, but there's probably about a handful of people here now. More are expected to come, and this event is called March for Change. They're asking people to come out and vote in this upcoming election to have their voice heard. So we're expecting the group to march from here to the Dudley Street polling location near NCA&T, and this is expected to last from 4 to 7 o'clock tonight. So we'll be following it the whole way. Again, this is starting at Governmental Plaza in Greensboro. Probably about a handful of people here now, expected to go from 4 until 7, and they will be marching from here to the polling location on Dudley Street right near NCA&T. So we're going to keep an eye on things here, and we'll check back in with you in a bit.
A close call for a Greensboro Army veteran. A tree came crashing through 24-year-old Nicholas Smith's home during storms on Thursday. Now, Smith said he was in his bed around 10 p.m. when he heard a loud noise he described as sounding like a train. So he walked towards the back of the house to look out the window.
Then the next thing I heard was big crackling noises and the ground was shaking. And then the power went out and I heard a tree falling down and I thought I was going to die, but I didn't.
A massive tree landed on his home. Smith says his neighbors helped him a lot and let him stay in their camper. But had he been in his bed when the tree fell, things would be very different.
Could be better, but I'm just grateful to be alive right now and grateful nobody else was in the house.
This is the second time trees have caused problems for Smith. 2 years ago, 2 other trees destroyed both his vehicles.
New out of High Point today, all city transit operations have now been suspended after an employee tested positive for COVID-19. All routes are suspended until the city can create a modified schedule based on staffing. Every vehicle will now be sanitized before they will be allowed back into service. The Transit Authority plans to update us on when their new schedule will be available.
All right, let's take a look at the headlines of the day with your 4 to 5 roundup. The Gaston County Health Department is now telling anyone who went to President Donald Trump's rally in Gastonia to monitor themselves for possible COVID-19 symptoms and get a test if necessary. 2 people there tested positive after the October 21st event. One of them was a reporter. The health department emphasized that there is no indication that the virus was spread at the rally, but 2 separate people who were there now have the virus. Starting Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID-19. The team is set to play Boston College tomorrow, and Lawrence will miss that game. Lawrence's test came back on Wednesday. It is not clear when he will be ready to take the field again. In a statement, the QB said he has relatively mild symptoms and will be pulling for the Tigers in isolation. And Walmart pulled all guns and ammunition from sales floors to keep them from being stolen if social unrest erupts. Those items are still available for purchase, but customers will need to ask an associate for them. The company also removed firearms and ammo in June after police officers killed George Floyd and demonstrations happened across the nation. Several Walmart stores were damaged during those protests.
Well, UNC Chapel Hill now issuing an all clear. Now, this afternoon, after they alerted students and staff about an armed and dangerous person. That was happening near campus. The organization called Alert Carolina said that the armed person was near the ambulatory care center. Students were then told to shelter in place. That was around 11:45 today. The university gave the all clear around 12:30. UNC officials say they are still investigating.
The Rockingham County Board of Elections is rushing to find more people who can work the polls on Election Day. The board says their Reedsville location is still closed after 12 out of 13 workers tested positive or are in quarantine because they were exposed to COVID-19. Including the Reedsville location, there are only 4 voting locations in all of Rockingham County.
Well, Election Day, of course, is not here yet, but that has not stopped more than 83 million people from already voting in this election. That's about 60% of the total number of people who voted in 2016. Both Texas and Hawaii have already passed their total number of votes from the 2016 election. While early voting numbers are now hitting record levels, there are still tens of millions of mail-in ballots that have yet to be returned. The Elections Project analysis found there are 36 million outstanding mail-in ballots as of today.
Well, if you plan on early voting, you are running out of time. Tomorrow is the last day that you can early vote in North Carolina, but it is important to know that not every polling location will be open tomorrow. So some sites will actually close in a few hours. If you still need to register to vote, you can only do it at an early voting location. And it has to be in the county that you live in, by the way. If you need to find an early voting polling place, we have you covered there. Just text the word early to the number on your screen.
President Donald Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden are battling it out in key Midwestern states today. Each candidate is focused on making sure supporters get out and vote.
When you use your power, the power of the vote, we literally are going to change the course of this country for generations to come.
There's never been anybody that has ever had bigger crowds or more enthusiasm than we have.
And listen to this. Experts think that this race could come down to just 2 states, Florida and Pennsylvania. Biden is still leading in the polls in Pennsylvania, but President Trump has narrowed that gap. Both candidates are set to campaign in the battleground state this weekend.
Yes, that's right. Kamala Harris will be in Goldsboro and Fayetteville tomorrow. More details are expected to be released later. And then on Sunday, President Trump will be holding a rally at the Hickory Airport just north of Charlotte. The president was supposed to be in Fayetteville yesterday, but postponed the rally until Monday because of bad weather.
Well, numbers today in the 60s right now, a far cry from the warmer temperatures we were seeing for a while. We were back to the low 80s for a few days. All that's a distant memory now. 62 in Greensboro, 61 Winston-Salem, High Point at 63. Asheboro, you're at 64, and Burlington 66. So tonight, we'll see with those clear skies, we drop down very quickly. How about a low of 39 for your morning tomorrow? It'll be clear and chilly. Wind's not that bad as we head into the night. Still a little bit breezy today. Wind gust 25 to 29 miles per hour, thereabouts, a few a little higher. But it is relaxing as that system moves away. Tomorrow, sunshine, 55. That means trick-or-treaters probably are going to see or struggle to get to 50 degrees. Maybe some upper 40s for the trick-or-treaters on Saturday. Satellite and radar combination were pretty much all clear. Ridge of high pressure to the north keeps all of that wind starting to push into, or cold air rather, pushing into our area. We do see a little bit of a warm up next week. We'll talk about that, and maybe second half of the weekend rain too.
So we know election night might be a little bit crazy, but what we don't know is who will win or even when the race will be called. We could be in for a long night or even a long few weeks, but we're going to take a look at what we can expect to happen on Election Day. That's coming up next on your 4 to 5. Welcome back to your 4 to 5. Election Day is getting closer and closer, and whether you've already cast your vote or you are waiting to vote on Election Day, one thing is for sure. This is going to be an election like no other. Between mail-in ballots, early voting, and the pandemic, this year's election night might actually be an election week or even a month. Our sister station in Dallas takes a closer look at what we should expect on election night.
What should we expect Election Day to be like? Let's start with a basic expectation. Several election officials tell me unless the voters give one candidate an overwhelming victory, it's likely we will not know on election night who won the presidency. Why is that? Well, mostly you can blame it on how a fear of COVID-19 has created a surge in demand for mail-in ballots across the country. Every mail-in ballot has to be opened and processed, and there will be more than anyone's ever seen, so the counting will take a lot of time. Tony Pippins-Poole is the top elections official in Dallas County. She says some mail-in ballots can also continue to arrive after Election Day.
That could be a substantial amount of ballots still coming in, which you normally do not have in a typical election.
So if a race is close and ballots are still coming in, that will slow down the process of certifying a winner. On Election Day, you should also expect to hear about problems at the polls. There are 230,000 polling locations in the U.S., so mistakes and misconduct are bound to happen, and they often do. But Susan Motley with the Irving chapter of the League of Women Voters says isolated problems do not mean the system is rigged or failing.
I strongly believe that we have a strong election system in place. It's a system I'm proud of and want to encourage people to participate in and really exercise their voice.
Okay, last point. If it's not clear who won in the days following the election, what happens next? Well, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the state, elections officials will first finalize the results. After that, if there are legal challenges, states have till December 8th to settle them. By December 14th, the Electoral College meets to finalize the overall results. And by January 20th, someone must be sworn into the office. If it gets that far, we will be exhausted for sure and probably pretty anxious, but it won't mean the process is flawed. It will mean the process is being followed.
I'm glad for that clarification there. But yes, the mail-in ballots are certainly going to delay election results. Just this week, the Supreme Court ruled that here in North Carolina, those ballots can be accepted up to 9 days after Election Day. They have to be postmarked by November 3rd, but they can be counted up until November 12th.
Yeah, and I can imagine a rush of people trying to get all of their ballots in on time. And then, we've had record number of people voting, but I'm sure still on Election Day, people may have to wait a couple hours to vote.
I think it's amazing that, because this election, obviously, this is so different. That we way more mail-in ballots than we've ever had before because of a variety of reasons. But we will not know who our president is for a week or two, or maybe even more, because we know there are going to be, investigations into everything to make sure everything was done correctly. I wonder how long this will drag out. And inauguration's usually the first of the year. I hope we have something by then.
And I just want to say, if you do have a mail-in ballot, you haven't mailed it back in, you can mail it, or you can take it in person, but you have to do that by tomorrow during that early voting period. So just keep that in mind. More of the 4 to 5 is coming up right after this.
You know, it seems like everybody's pretty stressed these days. That's an understatement. But don't you miss the simple things in life, like just going to a movie theater, the smell of popcorn, and seeing movies the way we used to, right? Well, it's back thanks to the folks at the Carolina Theater. They have a feel-good movie series that will start next week. I spoke with director Brian Gray all about this must-see event. Well, Brian, you know, you had me when I read feel-good movies because that's exactly what we need right now. Talk about this series and how this idea came up, and what do you hope to get out of this? What will we get out of this?
So my son was in town, and we were looking at some things that we could bring here, and a whole series of feel-good movies just seemed like the right thing to do. So I'm calling it the mid-pandemic, post-election feel-good flicks. And they start the Thursday right after the election and run 2 or 3 a week all through the month of November.
So let's talk about what type of selection do we have here, because feel-good is a broad term.
Well, what we were hoping with the feel-good movies was to find something that would hit all genres. So we have something for the kids like E.T. and Lion King, just wonderful movies that folks will enjoy. We've got Hidden Figures coming in. We've got Remember the Titans, just some fun, silly stuff like Airplane, and just some good classic laughing movies like Forrest Gump. We're hoping to get Casablanca and Singing in the Rain. So we have some for all generations.
Well, it really is about the most eclectic group of movies that you'll see, and I mean, I think that's great. If you're trying to, you know, sell this, I guess the selling point would be the fact that we all just need a break once in a while and go back to something classic.
We do, and you know, when we announced the first one, we just did Hocus Pocus this week. And the folks that came in for the movies, you know, right now we're about the only game in town if you want to get out and see a movie and have some popcorn. They were thrilled to come in, and when they came in, you know, we went through all the COVID protocols and the things that you should be doing and have to do, and everyone felt safe and secure. But then when they left, they had smiles on their faces and they just really had a good time.
There is you can watch movies at home all you want to, but there is nothing like a theater and the smell of popcorn and a good movie. Brian, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll see you there at the theater. Yeah, it is true that just being in that big room, hearing other people laugh along with you or crying, some of the cases of those movies, and smelling that popcorn, you can do it. You can get back and experience that. And these movies are incredible. Back to the Future. I mean, there's just a lot of good fun movies.
Singing in the Rain. I need you to tell me what day that is happening on, because Singing in the Rain is my all-time favorite movie. If I'm feeling sad, I watch it. If I'm feeling happy, I watch it, no matter what mood I'm in. Also, Chilton, so much is going on at your house right now. I just feel like you need to tell me if you're running the Roomba, and why the sirens?
No, so our director has been saying that to me, and I thought it was my neighbor doing the yard work, but that stopped, and he says he still hears it. I have no idea what the noise is.
It's a ghost.
Mystery at the Chilton house. I will say though, I am pretty excited to see E.T. again. I haven't seen that in probably more than 10 years. And that's, I think, almost came out the year I was born. That's crazy too.
Yes, and this is how movies are meant to be watched, in a theater with the snacks, sitting next to someone. I think that this is awesome that they're doing this, and they're doing it in a safe way. So kudos. Chilton, figure out who's vacuuming in your house.
It's perfect. I don't know what that is.
Gotta figure
All right, well, let's
that
talk
out.
about a forecast. I swear I don't hear a thing. I don't know what's happening right now. We'll show you the satellite and radar combination. There is nothing going on despite the sounds that you hear. We're looking at clear skies, and it's going to be that way for a while, we think, as high pressure sort of takes control. Wind gusts, you know, the max today, about 30 miles per hour, way different than it was yesterday, correct? Boone, though, at 43 miles per hour. And chilly conditions, the winds will be coming out of the north. Our lows tonight drop down to 39 degrees with a high tomorrow of only 55. It'll be chilly, probably upper 40s for trick-or-treaters, so prepare for that. Little morning rain is possible on Sunday. Don't forget, this is the weekend that we turn our clocks back. We fall back an hour Saturday night. And then Monday, 52, might have some frost in the morning. We'll build back to the upper 60s by the end of next week with relatively no rain.
Okay, we are one day away from Halloween, and apart from getting to dress up, the next best thing about Halloween is the candy, of course. So I asked you all on Facebook today, started the conversation, and asked, what is your favorite Halloween candy? John Stone writes here, anything Reese's, cups, pumpkins, mini cups, it's all good. Linda Slayton says, Butterfinger mini bars. Maria Foga says almost all of them, except anything with nuts. Hives. Yikes. All right. MD Moore says it would be easier to pick which one I don't like. I feel you there. Kenny Diane Chambers says every year around Halloween get a taste for my favorite, candy corn. Barbara Nelson Goff says the orange and black wrapped peanut butter candy. Sharon Martin Yancey says, I love candy corn and almond joy. I feel you on that, Sharon. And Janelle Stevenson says the peanut butter taffy in the orange and black wrappers or the fruit flavored Tootsie Rolls. Now, I have to say, she was the only one that wrote Tootsie Rolls there. Mostly everyone was writing any type of candy that had to do with chocolate, whether it was, Hershey's, M&M's, Reese's, Milky Way, and the list goes on.
Okay, friends, make a face about how you feel when I say the words candy corn. Oh, okay, 3 for 3. That's great. It is National Candy Corn Day. Just fun fact there. I'm a candy corn lover. Tahisha has a bag of candy corn probably not 5 feet away from her right now. I know it.
Okay, I actually was going to bring all my candy with me, and then I forgot in the commercial break. So it's actually in my room.
Chilton, what you snacking on?
I agree with whoever said that it's easier for me to tell you what I don't like. I was never a big licorice fan. I can do it, don't really love it. And then my dad used to love those Necco wafers, which I didn't really like all that much. But you're right, anything chocolate's good.
I don't remember who said it, but underrated Halloween candy, peanut butter kisses in the orange and black wrappers. So good, a classic. Share with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie. They forever go together.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your 4 to 5. You have to put up with us for another 30 minutes, so sit back and have a good time. I'm Eric Chilton alongside Maddie Gardner and Tahisha Boys.
You have to put up with us, but at least it's Friday. So there's that. We are here to inform you, make you feel connected to both us and the world around you.
Yes, make sure you are using our hashtag 4 to 5 to stay connected. But right now, let's get you up to speed. The American Red Cross is helping 39 people after a fire at Astor Dowdy Towers in High Point. The fire department was on the scene just after 2 o'clock this morning. Red Cross Mass Care and Logistics Manager Robert Griffin told me most of the people who live there are older adults. Now they're helping them out, but Griffin says this situation is unique.
Because of the sheer number and with COVID, our policy is to put folks up in a hotel. Normally we would open up what we call a congregate shelter at a church or some other community center or something like that.
Griffin says Red Cross volunteers are also responding to people who are displaced because of Zeta.
All right, let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup right now. A Louisville officer involved in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor is now filing a civil lawsuit against her boyfriend. The lawsuit claims Louisville Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly experienced severe trauma, mental anguish, and emotional distress because of Kenneth Walker's actions on March 13th. Mattingly and 2 other officers entered Taylor's apartment early in the morning that day with a warrant in an attempt to carry out a drug investigation. Walker thought the officers were intruders, so he fired, hitting Mattingly in the leg. Officers fired back, killing Taylor. The number of COVID cases in the U.S. is growing. More than 88,000 new cases were reported yesterday, marking a new single-day record high. The U.S. is likely to pass 9 million total coronavirus cases today. The U.S. continues to lead the world in deaths related to COVID-19 with nearly 229,000. The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation projects the U.S. will have an additional 100,000 deaths between now and January 1st if mask usage remains at its current level. In the meantime, a county in Texas is now under a 2-week shutdown due to rising COVID cases. Non-essential businesses in El Paso County had to close today at midnight. That included tattoo parlors, hair and nail salons, and gyms. Election activities are considered essential, so those are not affected. The county alone has 934 hospitalized coronavirus patients, which is more than in 33 states. Meanwhile, Europe is also trying to stop a surge of COVID cases as more than 10 million cases have now hit that continent. There's fear hospitals could be overwhelmed again. Spain's Catalonia region had closed its borders, hoping that will stop the virus from spreading. In France, no one can leave home without a good reason. Non-essential businesses are closed until December. And starting on November 2nd, Germany's banning gatherings more than 10 people from 2 families. Gyms, theaters, bars, and clubs are ordered to close, and no dining at restaurants will be allowed.
Let's take a look at what's happening back here at home. It was another bad day for COVID-19 cases in our state. After yesterday's record-setting case count, today we hit the second highest daily case count since the pandemic began. More than 2,800 new cases were recorded. Our percent positive cases did drop to 6.2%, but that is still above the state's goal of 5%. Around the state, almost 1,200 people are in the hospital.
So the numbers heading into the night tonight, that overnight low tonight around 39 degrees, that's going to be a shock to the system. That'll be tomorrow morning when you see that. Clear and chilly sort of sets the stage for our Halloween forecast with a high of 55. Now remember, we usually hit that in the 3 to 5 p.m. time period. So by the time trick-or-treaters get out, it may be closer to 50 or maybe even about 49 degrees. So hope the costumes are big ones there to keep you warm. Satellite and radar, for the most part, were clear. In fact, you see that on the broad picture here, the big regional shot. We're going to stay that way for a day or so. Wind gusts today not as bad as yesterday, upwards of, say, 25 to about 30 miles per hour in central North Carolina. Chilly air around the periphery of that high pressure to the north of us. That'll keep us cool as we head into Halloween. Again, after that, though, there's a chance of rain on Sunday. It's about a 50-50 shot with a high of 60. It'll be 52 on Monday, maybe some morning frost. We go back on Election Day to about almost 60 degrees for the high with sunshine. And we're sunny for most of the rest of the week and warming back to the mid to upper 60s by Thursday and Friday. Overnight lows that we're watching, tonight's 39, 34 on Monday morning, and we'll see some other 30-plus degree readings for the next couple of days at the first part of next week. All right, so this election has a lot of people worried about investments, too, about money. Seems like every time we have an election year, this happens. People think, what's going to happen with the markets? And, one way or the other, no matter who wins, the answers may actually surprise you. I spoke with financial expert Matt Logan with Matt Logan Incorporated for some advice for all of us. Matt, to say right now is stressful is a joke statement because people are freaking out about the markets and what happens normally in a big election year like this with market?
It's very easy to feel so heightened because there is so much tense feelings in the air, and a lot of times people will make irrational decisions with their investments. What we try to do is to take a step back and take a little perspective. 16 of the last 18 presidential terms have averaged positive results. For people who think whether it goes right or left determines up or down, it's simply not the case. And actually annualized since World War II, looking back at the S&P 500, that index has grown by 11.7% per year over all of those presidential terms, both left and right averaged.
It's interesting because I almost feel like the country gets a sense of okay, we're settled. We know which direction we're going, whether it's who you voted for or not. Am I right about that?
Yeah, there's uncertainty. And whenever there's uncertainty, people get really concerned. As soon as we know more about, okay, who's going to be the president, who's going to be, what are their policies and how they'll affect different industries, there might be tweaks to portfolios that we make, but it's not a all in or all out.
So really, I guess the bottom line, Matt, is the worst thing you can do is to be overly reactive right after the election.
Take your time and process, and I do recommend people don't vote with their investments.
Matt, thanks for your time today, man. This is all good advice. We all just need to take a deep breath and let it ride. It does come down to the fact that no matter what happens, even when we have recessions and that type of thing, you really just have to kind of stay in there for the long haul. Unless you're within 5 or 6 years of retirement, I think most people just kind of ride things out.
Eric, I want you to be my financial advisor. You're just in charge of everything now.
Yeah, but you got to pay
Reactive
him,
investing,
though.
don't do it.
I'm not paying you. Sorry.
You can't do it for free. That has to be a side hustle. But, this is a lot of... Okay. Still charge her. No, but this is a lot of the advice that we've been hearing all year because, the stock market took a plunge earlier on when the coronavirus pandemic first hit, and the financial planners were saying a lot of the same thing. They're like, don't panic, just wait. The market will rebound. And so probably a lot of the same advice after Election Day as well.
Yes, very good. All right, let's check in with Who Wants to Know.
All right, folks at home, you know who this guy is, right?
We're skipping to Christmas.
No, but
Okay.
I want to know, what does this guy do?
Well, he makes a list and
Yes.
he checks it twice, of
Yes,
course.
he does. So I want you to be like the jolly old elf, and I want you to check your vote, even if you've checked it before. Here's why. We got a call yesterday from someone who said, some absentee ballots were accepted but then rejected later, and the folks either missed the letter that was telling them about how they needed to fix it, and when they looked at ballot tracks, that system didn't really update to let them know that there was something wrong with their ballot. So here's what I want you to do. If you voted absentee or early voting, you can use this too. The North Carolina State Board of Elections page, this is where you start. You're going to look for the registering tab. Yes. And then the screen pops up and you want to hit Checking my registration, pretty easy. You're going to use the voter search tool, and you're going to fill in all the information like your name and date of birth and all that kind of jazz. And then when your name pops up, I want you to click your name. You're going to come to a screen that looks like this, and what you're looking for is it says absentee ballot in the left-hand side. So if you voted by mail or you did early voting, it's considered absentee. Why? Because you're absent from the polls on election day. And when you click this tab right here, it's going to tell you the status. Now this happens to be mine because I early voted. And the status says, hey, it's a valid return. And all the way at the end, it says it is accepted. It takes just a few minutes, and it could really make your rest a little easier knowing that your ballot was counted. All right, what are your voting and elections questions? Well, we have an expert in at 5:30 to take your questions. 336-379-5775. Don't wonder about something. Get your answers today.
All right, so earlier in the show, we talked about the Carolina Theater and their feel-good movie series. So that got me to thinking about what is your favorite feel-good movie. So I asked you on Facebook, here's what you had to say. MD Moore said, well, being a movie nerd, there are just too many choices, but I will say that White Christmas is near the top. I can agree with that. I do love some Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. Candace Lee Phillips says, Pretty Woman, sort of a rags to riches good, feel-good story. Teresa says, the original Footloose. Yeah, kind of tough to beat that. The characters, the music, she said she just loves it. And Pat Lewis Ruth said, Little Women, simple as that. And Maddie, you asked about, which movie did you ask about when it airs at the Carolina Theater?
Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain.
Oh, they have not scheduled that one yet.
Okay, keep
yet,
me
but
updated.
E.T. Tahisha is November 15th.
All right, November 15th, marking it on the calendar. Okay, feel good movie. Cheetah Girls 1 and 2. Those are mine. Cheetah Girl for life.
Okay. Eric.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
Ghostbusters. You caught me on that one. I wouldn't know where to go. Ghostbusters and Back to the Future, which, by the way, is November 10th at the Carolina Theater.
Any musical. I've said Singing in the Rain at least 17 times in this half hour already, so we won't say that again. Chicago is another good one. I love to watch Chicago. And our director, Brad, just reminded me of Sound of Music, which is another feel-good movie.
The Hills Are Alive. The Sound of Music. Mm-hmm. Andy Griffith fans will want to tune in tomorrow night for a marathon here on WFMY News 2. But keep this in mind, the marathon does come with some programming changes tomorrow night. CBS programs Manhunt and 48 Hours are going to air overnight. So make sure to watch or record 48 Hours at 1:35 a.m. and Manhunt at 2:35 and 3:35. And you'll want to add more time just in case any of the programming is delayed by college football. More of your 4 to 5 when we come back.
The high school football season is still waiting to get started here in the Triad, but we do have some positive news to share about one football coach. WFMY News 2 Amanda Ferguson tells us about a special award he won this week.
A big honor for a high school coach in the Triad. East Surrey's Trent Loman wins Coach of the Year in our state for the 2019-2020 season. The award comes from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association after his athletic director nominated him.
It's not anything I ever expected. You don't do your job for these things, so it's kind of neat.
Coach Loman has been doing his job for about 16 years, the last 2 at East Surrey.
Took this job and have loved every second of it, loved the guys that I work with, have a special group of kids and coaches, and you put all those pieces together and things like this happen. So it is validating that maybe you do know what you're talking about a little bit different.
This past season, he did a pretty good job, leading the Cardinals to an undefeated season and the state Class 1AA championship.
I can't harp on enough how special these kids are here and the community and the coaches. So this is truly a team award. I'm just in the seat that gets the glory for it. But it speaks volumes about our school, our town, and coaches and players in general.
Now Coach Loman's up for a National Coach of the Year award. Good luck, Coach.
Okay, you know, that shot toward the end of the piece when he's just hugging his player, sorry, that was pretty much, that says it all.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, he basically had a perfect last season, undefeated, and they win the championship. It doesn't get much better than that. And then he's Coach of the Year. Man, what a year.
Yes, we wish him the best of luck for that national award. It'd be really cool to have that back in the Piedmont Triad. Just have to give a little shout out. My cousin, Leighton Allen, was on the state championship team, so a little connection there. You know, when you're talking Surrey County, we all know each other. We're all related in some way, right, Chilton? Are you my cousin?
That's right. That's right.
He's not my cousin.
We're distantly related.
But congratulations to Coach Loman there. And once again, we wish him the best for that national award. Hey, the 4 to 5 is coming right back after this. Stick around. We're talking holiday movies, my favorite topic.
Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 4 to 5. Mic check 1 2 3 4. Mic. Oh yeah, sure. It should start with Aaron, Ellen, Steve, Melissa, and then lastly it should be Ed.
Hi there, 1 2 3 Cheetah Girls. 1 and 2 Cheetah Girls. 1 2 3. Who stars in Cheetah Girls?
Okay, I know it's not even Halloween yet, but bear with me here. Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph, and their holiday friends are coming back to WFMY News 2 this year. Several holiday classics are going to be airing right here starting after Thanksgiving. So Brian Bennett, our digital guru, is here. He's been watching your comments on this story all day. And Brian, I'm going to take a wild guess that most people are like me and they're excited for this.
Yeah, Maddie, you're absolutely correct. Your guess is accurate. So without any further ado, let's get into all the excitement, shall we? We're going to kick things off with Aaron. He says, I've been watching these ever since I was a kid. I still watch them every year. While Ellen says, yes, 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 yes. Clearly excited. Steve says, finally something normal. We know 2020 has brought a lot of changes, so a little bit of normalcy there. Melissa says, surprised Apple hasn't bought these two, or those two, rather. Of course, she's referring to Charlie Brown, which is now on Apple TV Plus. Good thing is that you can see Rudolph and Frosty on CBS. But lastly, Ed says, love that and Charlie Brown when I was a kid. Hey, who's lying? I still love it.
The holiday
So clearly
classic.
people are ecstatic.
Yes, I just want to mention before we talk about Christmas movies, you can watch The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown for free on Apple TV Plus today and tomorrow night. So if you're upset about that, you can watch that for free. I love the claymation holiday classics and the jingles that just get stuck in your head all season long.
Yes, I love them. I love them too. And, you know, one time I got to interview, it was a lady, by the way, that did the voice of Rudolph, in case you didn't know. And I got to interview her once, and for her to talk about that process and working with Rankin and Bass, it was fascinating. I love all of those old classics. And you're right, Maddie, the songs stay with you for weeks.
Actually, when I saw this story Brian posted on our page earlier this morning, I just started singing those jingles, and I know that you would sing them much better than I do. I won't do that.
Well, coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock, the Triad is still recovering from a rough day of weather. 24 hours later, thousands of people across the Triad still don't have power. The latest on the efforts to get the lights back on as cleanup continues. That's next at 5. Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie. They forever to go.
Hi, this is a mask check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's not a.
Hi, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas.
Hi there. Guess what, Callie? It's Friday. Friday!
Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3.
Ben Briscoe here with my 2 cents about this election. So you've got the presidential race, the governor's race, and the Senate race. They are all the big ticket items that dominate the headlines. But something else on your ballot could have even more impact. And whatever you decide about it this year sticks around for the next decade. The part of the ballot you should give some extra attention to is right here, your state House representative and senators. See, if one political party wins control of both North Carolina's state House and Senate, political scientists say that party is much more likely to stay in power for 10 years. When the new census data comes in after the election, whoever wins this election gets to redraw the borders for who represents your neighborhood. Borders that last until the next census in 2030. By the way, they also get to decide the districts for who represents you in Congress. But don't just take my word for it. Dave Daly with the nonpartisan group Fair Vote has tracked how politicians have used redrawing these lines to grab up power all across the country.
We are the only modern democracy that allows politicians this kind of power. And believe me, they use it. They go behind closed doors and they entrench themselves in office, insulate themselves from the voters. Both parties have done it. Both parties have done it in North Carolina. It's wrong.
Folks in Greensboro have some firsthand knowledge too. Our representative right now is Republican Mark Walker, but he chose not to run again. His district was changed, making it lean towards the Democrat. A change that was forced by North Carolina judges who ruled that old map was too slanted towards Republicans. And that took years of court cases to happen. Listen, the bottom line here is no matter which political party you support, you want them being in charge of drawing the new borders. So, map out your plan to vote now, know when and how you'll make your voice heard. That's my 2 cents. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now.
Guilford County school students will continue learning at home for at least another week. The district decided this afternoon based on increased coronavirus numbers.
You'll recall some students were set to start in-person learning last week, but that was pushed back. District leaders agree the uncertainty has been difficult for families to manage. The school board will meet again on November 10th to discuss the reentry plan. Superintendent Dr. Sharon Contreras plans to recommend the board adjust its metrics used to determine when students can go back into the classroom. She's also expected to recommend an immediate phased-in reopening as early as November 12th for first and second grade students.
It's no surprise the district is pushing back the return date when you look at the numbers. District and county leaders have said they want to see certain standards in county metrics. The percent of tests coming back positive is one of them. You can see Guilford County's percent positives have really been all over the board over the last 7 weeks. I want you to focus on the red line here. That's 5%. The district and county wants the daily number to be below 5% for 2 weeks straight. It's easy to see that isn't happening. Also, notice today's number, it's at 15.5%, the highest we've seen.
All High Point Transit operations are suspended, including buses, after an employee tested positive for COVID-19. Now, officials say due to the potential exposure amongst